What's up, everyone? We have a lot to talk about when it comes to the stock market right now. Microsoft made less than $2 billion than they did in this same quarter last year. And guess what's happening? The stock is booming. On top of that, they have their lowest sales growth since 2016, and it's still booming. So we're definitely going to talk about what's going on with Microsoft stock. But we also had a very rare and almost one of a kind glitch that happened in the stock market today that caused like multi-billion dollar companies like McDonald's, Altria, Uber, Wells Fargo, and many others to have some whack movement at open. We have a lot to talk about today. Make sure to stick with us. And towards the end of today's video, we have a $2 million trade that you won't want to miss. So definitely make sure to stick with us. But Tom, let's get right into today's episode.
Yeah, Mike, the SPY had a very interesting day overall, but we did end up green, especially here in after hours with those Microsoft earnings. And guys, stick around today. We have a lot of huge stuff to get into. There's even a lot of big earnings tomorrow with Tesla and a lot more stuff that we have to talk about, even with some GDP numbers coming up that a lot of people are kind of forgetting about here towards the end of the week. So don't forget about that either. But Mike, there's a lot of big stocks that today that had this weird glitch in the morning. Like Shopify was one. UPS was another one. McDonald's was one you mentioned. Guys, look at this weird print all the way down here. Like, it was so weird with the way that this glitch happened. A lot of stocks looked like they were popping up. Some of them looked like they were popping down, like McDonald's. But this glitch was very crazy, Mike. And overall, it caused a lot of volatility here at open. Mike, let us know exactly what happened here. It's kind of confusing, actually, guys. But I will say it was a very big thing that happened this morning. And a lot of people are calling this a big thing with manipulation. And that a lot of these HFTs might have ended up doing very well during this.
Exactly. So today truly was a one-of-a-kind day in the stock market. Basically what we saw happen is a bunch of multi-billion dollar companies just glitch out in the stock market, literally. Like, we're not talking about small cap penny stocks or meme stocks. We're talking about companies like McDonald's, Uber, Nike, Wells Fargo, AT&T. A bunch of multi-billion dollar companies literally glitched out in the stock market today. And basically what happened is right at open, the stocks were all over the place where they ended up moving so much and in such crazy ways, like 200 different stocks all got halted at open. And basically what happened today is normally when the market opens, all of the buy orders and sell orders get put into a book and an auction process happens. And, the stock market opens based off of that auction process, based off the best buy orders and best sell orders. But what ended up happening today is a bunch of these different buy orders and sell orders never made it to the book that determines the opening prices of these stocks, and it caused just insane movement where all these stocks ended up getting, just thrown all over the place. And at the same time, a lot of people got screwed over because if you had, let's say, a sell order, like this example with Mosaic on CNBC, yesterday Mosaic closed at $48.35, but today it opened at $40.29. So it basically crashed 16% right from open, and then it got halted, and then a couple minutes later, it's back all the way up to 48. So long story short, it was a crazy day today. A lot of people got screwed over. It was a weird glitch. But what's also interesting is that the exchange says that they're just going to correct these opening prices, and that for the people who got screwed over, they are set to be made whole. So it should end up all right, but what a weird day.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, could you imagine maybe trying to trade McDonald's here, getting into a big swing trade or something like that, and then maybe you had a stop loss, just as a random example, around 260, and then obviously whenever it opened up this morning, it obviously would trigger that stop. So, it's pretty insane, Mike. Like you said, a lot of people could have got screwed over. It was insane. There is a big list of the companies that were halted today. Mike, we'll throw this in the description for you guys if you guys want to check this out at all. But Mike, it was pretty insane. Pretty much, it was a volatility halt for anyone who doesn't know. A volatility halt triggers when shares exceed 5% of their acceptable trading range, which is calculated as the average price of the previous 5-minute trading period. So that's exactly what a volatility halt is for anybody wondering. And, for anybody looking this up, you can check out Investopedia. There's a lot of good explanations on there and other sources like that. But Mike, these stocks had crazy glitches today. And you know what? While we're not going to have any glitches tomorrow, we're going to have a lot of crazy stuff going on. Obviously, we had Microsoft earnings tonight, and then we have even more earnings coming up tomorrow with Tesla, Boeing before open, AT&T, Progressive, ABT or Abbott, NextEra Energy. It's going to be another big day.
Yeah, so lots of exciting moves coming soon, but let's talk about what happened today with Microsoft. So, by looking at the headline, you'd see, all right, Microsoft's not making as much profit as they did last year. Their sales growth isn't that good, but the stock's booming. So, Tom, what's going on here?
Yeah, so there's actually a really good chart here. You can see the EPS beat by a little bit. The revenue came in just under expectations here. But what I will say, Mike, is that, these are pretty much right at expectations. Some people say, oh, well, they missed out on revenue. Well, it was 52.75 billion versus 52.94 billion expected. That's a very small miss when you're talking about $52 billion there. So keep in mind, it was pretty much even, but there's an awesome chart here that shows their growth. And I think the main reason that Microsoft is doing so well here in after hours is their cloud growth right now. And their cloud growth is amazing. So they pretty much have a program or I guess you would say a product called Azure. And this is a really big cloud type of program. There's a lot of stuff you can do on this. And Mike, it's had 31% growth here, which is good, but you can see the growth has been dropping a little bit, but still it's amazing to see this growth continue to be so high, even though it's falling down. Obviously a lot of companies, whenever you get to a certain point, you start to fall back down a little bit, like Tesla, Meta's had some issues with this too, and just a lot of other companies, but the growth is still there. I think that's the main reason why they're going up. And we're seeing a lot of other stocks that deal with cloud products like this, like Amazon moving up too, along with CRM and a whole bunch of other companies.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that market share for the cloud market. So basically, for those of you who don't know, the cloud market, the cloud basically data center market / industry has been booming over the past couple years. And there are basically two companies that dominate that industry. That's Amazon with AWS and it's Microsoft with Azure. Combined, they have a 55% market share in the cloud market, which is very dominant. And then Google comes in with like 11%, but overall, Amazon and Microsoft are like the cloud stocks. And as Microsoft popped up in after hours today, as you guys can guess, so did Amazon. So it's very interesting to see both of these stocks moving in sympathy right now. Amazon didn't even report earnings today, but that stock's booming too. So make sure to keep Amazon close on your radar because it's moving right up with Microsoft.
Yeah, it is. And keep a lot of those other stocks on your radar too. But like you said, Amazon's going to be the most affected, obviously, since they have the biggest market share there. But it's going to be huge over the next few days. Even with these other earnings coming out, they could end up affecting a lot of companies. Like, for example, Boeing tomorrow could affect a lot of airlines. AT&T could end up affecting some more phone carriers. I know Verizon already reported this morning, but AT&T could still affect things a little bit at least. Progressive could affect other insurance companies. For example, there's always that type of sector like Tesla. Tomorrow's probably going to end up affecting a lot of EV stocks. And Mike, talking about Tesla, they actually had a pretty good day today. They ended up closing up into the green. I'd say, right around what did they end up closing green, Mike? It was really 0.1%, just barely got up there. I knew it was really, really close. Looks like they're at a key resistance around 145 to 146. Man, these earnings are going to be huge for them tomorrow. Guys, let me know in the comments how you think Tesla's going to do. They've had a lot of big things going on lately, like their Berlin factory is going to, it's obviously been ramping up a little bit more. Their Austin, Texas factory has been getting going. So let me know how you think Tesla is going to do on these earnings. And who knows, maybe they'll announce something nice for us. I know Elon always has some type of trick up his sleeve, but I don't know, Mike. It's been a rough year for Tesla. It needs to come back.
Yeah, tomorrow will be an exciting day, no matter which way you look at it, whether it's earnings or what's actually on the economic calendar for tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week. So, Tom, I know there's not too much for tomorrow, but what do we need to know throughout the rest of the week?
Yeah, so tomorrow we have the 30-year mortgage rate, which I'll definitely be watching that, Mike. That's going to be pretty big, obviously, for the housing market. But it's not the biggest thing out there. Thursday, we have the GDP growth rate, guys. That is going to be so, so important over the next couple days. Man, heading into tomorrow, we're going to have Tesla reporting in after hours, and then the very next morning, we're going to have that GDP growth rate. So Wednesday night, heading into Thursday, we're going to have a lot of volatility. And I think it's important to talk about this today, Mike, because the thing is that heading into tomorrow, obviously, you have to make these plays, or you have to obviously calculate risk heading into tomorrow before close, because this is going to come out so early in the morning that, if you're holding options or something like that, you're not going to be able to close them. So if the market gaps up or gaps down, you have to keep that in the back of your mind. So I just want to point that out that, it's going to be very important tomorrow to keep this, on your radar, even though it's happening the next morning.
And there's something I want to really talk about, Tom, that I'm not really seeing too many other people talk about. So we are in earnings season. We're starting to see some giant companies report. And a lot of people, when they think of stock earnings, they always think that you have to, try and guess whether that company's going to do really good or really bad on earnings. But honestly, I think there's a much better way to play earnings. And that's just riding the momentum after the stock already reports. A lot of times when these companies report, they will continue to run multiple days after the report. One of my favorite stocks to give it as an example with this is Netflix. They always start off the earnings season and they set the tone. And this year is a perfect example. They reported earnings, and even though they popped up, they kept running days after. And even if you look at a daily chart on Netflix, they tend to do the same thing every single quarter, and many stocks follow this same pattern. You don't have to be first and try and catch the bottom, but if you have a stock that has a ton of momentum, there's still often a lot of opportunity just riding the momentum after earnings. I mean, look at all these Netflix earnings moves that go on for weeks or even days after the report.
Yeah, these moves are insane, Mike. I cannot believe how nice some of these uptrends have been after these earnings and how much they've really continued, because those are some pretty insane moves and gaps back to the upside here. And Netflix still has a long way to go back up, back up to highs that it was at up around $700 after that COVID explosion. But obviously, we're still going to probably have some pretty good movement here, Mike. And what I really like is that those Netflix earnings, we were looking at this because we said, well, hey, Netflix is moving up. Maybe this will give us an insight into some of these bigger tech stocks. And what are we seeing happen right now with Microsoft? It's also moving up. Now we're going to have Tesla reporting along with a lot of other great tech stocks over the next couple weeks. So, man, it seems like it's kicking off in the right notes so far, Mike, with Netflix and Microsoft going well. I know not every report's going well this earnings season, but hey, it's nice to see some of the bigger players doing well for once, especially with how bad the past year was.
No doubt. So, Tom, let's take a look at SPY really quickly. We're still below a key resistance point, but we are above that crucial $400 level. What do we need to know for the SPY right now, and what are the important levels?
Yeah, so SPY is still sitting right around $400. And, while we are up above, I would say above the resistance line, really close. It depends on how you draw it. Some people have it angled a little bit differently like this. Some people have it angled in between, but it just depends on where you're drawing it onto these peaks. But obviously, we're really close to this key resistance line here. And what I have to say is that I feel like that these earnings coming out over the next couple of days are going to be the main thing that's going to move the SPY and just the Dow and all these big stocks finally up and out of this downtrend that we've been in if these earnings go well. And it's nice to see Microsoft having that happen right now. But with the SPY, we have recent highs up around 402.70. I would say watch that, especially with how we ran up today in after hours, almost up to 402. So I would say make us break above 402.70 tomorrow. If that does happen, I would look for a bigger run up to around 405, Mike, and then maybe even 410. I'll say looking at that daily chart, 410 is a huge upper resistance there that I'm hoping the SPY can start to hit. And if we start to hit that, then I think we'll see good confirmation up off of this trend line here or that resistance. But until then, we just have to hope these earnings keep going well and that we're going to get that price action up above those big levels. Because if we start trading back below 400 and then back below 398, we might start to see a bigger pullback back to the downside.
And like, let's say we do see that bigger pullback, what are the main levels?
Yeah, so like 398 is that big level there. I would say if we break that, we could see a bigger pullback down to around 396. You can see that's a pretty big support here from last week. We had a we had quite a bit of price action there, right at market close and market open there on Monday. And then if we keep going down from there, watch 393 and then 391. 391 was huge over the past couple weeks, along with 390. So I'll be watching this area down here very, very close if we start to drop down. But like I said, I'm hoping for that big push up to around 410. That would be obviously the ideal scenario.
Yeah, and if we go back to the daily chart just for a second, it's like we're seeing like a half breakout right now where it's like I love the momentum over the past couple days, but I don't fully trust it just yet. I want to see more of these market moving companies that are about to report earnings like Tesla, Apple, Amazon, stuff like that. I want to see them do good, because if we're at this key resistance and the next thing we know, Tesla and Apple get destroyed on earnings, that's not going to be too good of a breakout on the SPY. It'll probably be pretty bearish in that scenario.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure a lot of people right now are saying, well, hey, it's probably time to jump into calls. Look, we're moving up through it. We got this nice confirmation here. It's time for calls. The uptrend's coming. But these earnings are throwing a bit of a wrench into things. And I think it's just important here to, maybe like really make sure and have some good confirmation. I think maybe like a move, like I said, up above that 402.70 level, that high of day from yesterday, could end up being pretty big. I think that'll be a pretty big confirmation. If we break above that, then I think we could get a bigger move. So I think it's just going to be very important to manage risk appropriately here, Mike. And, even if you are going to try to play some calls, just, make sure to keep that stop loss, maybe like 397.50 or under some of these key supports we talked about.
Yeah, it's been a very eventful start to the year so far. Just a couple weeks ago, we had some reports of egg smuggling booming. Yesterday, we talked about how some members of Congress are looking to eliminate the debt ceiling, which would be a horrendous idea in my opinion. And then, now we have news about some very rare trading glitches happening in the market. So to say the least, it's been quite the crazy year. And I'll say, I don't think this craziness is going to slow down over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I don't think so at all. And, we're going to get even more big events coming up, like big FOMC events over the next couple weeks to the next month or so. And there's going to be a lot of bigger things coming out, more CPI readings. And it's going to be obviously an ongoing process here, Mike. And what I will say is that we're already back into this big earnings season again. And I feel like we just got out of the last one. Earnings are just ongoing and hey, they never stop. And it's always a nice, fun time, Mike. And hey, guys, like I said, let me know in the comments if you're going to play Tesla. Let me know how you think it's going to do as well. If you think it's going to outperform or maybe underperform a little bit. Like I said, it's had a pretty rough year.
Earnings season's the best season.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's get right into some good plays for tomorrow. So, Tom, I have a close eye on Corsair, CRSR. This stock has been pretty range bound over the past couple months. And yeah, basically the past couple months, I am looking for it to have a move up to like that $17 resistance level. I think there's a good chance we retest that pretty soon. It does have some support around 13, which it bounced off of beautifully over the past couple weeks. So either way, it's definitely towards the upside on my radar going forward. And like I said, it's been range bound for quite some time now, and I think there's a good chance we retest 17 pretty soon.
Yeah, and what's awesome is there's even like a big double top here that I've had this level on my chart here for a little while. It looks like right around like 1530, and I feel like that might even be a good like shorter term maybe like breakout level to watch for. So yeah, I like it, Mike. I think it's awesome. It's starting to move up, and like you said, it's been range bound, and right now it's like consolidating right in the middle of the range. We have good earnings with Microsoft, so yeah, maybe watch for that retest of 17 coming in pretty soon. And Mike, I know we always talk about Square, and I just have to talk about it again because it is just continuing to break out. I know yesterday we talked about it. It broke out above 76. Had a really nice run up. Today, it tried to break out again. Obviously the SPY had that glitch. We ended up going pretty flat, obviously towards close. We had a bigger move, but Looking at Square, I will say I'm still watching it. If we get some good movement up out of the overall market, I still think Square has a lot of room back to the upside. And I really love that it's starting to break out. And I feel like we could maybe come up and retest 90 sometime soon, which would be a, pretty good like 8 to 10 point pop.
Cool. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Nvidia, but it's probably not in the way that you'd expect. So Nvidia has a ton of upwards momentum right now. That's awesome to see. I love to see it, right? But we are getting very close to a crucial resistance right at $200 a share. So I'm actually looking for Nvidia to get pretty close to this resistance level, and I'll be watching it for actually like a rejection off this. So just over the past couple months, Nvidia, if it hits 200, Nvidia will be up like 90% or so, which is quite the run up from lows. That's a big run up, especially in such a short period of time, especially given the size of Nvidia. So either way, I'm looking for it to test 200, and I'm looking to play it as like a resistance rejection. So maybe some puts right when it gets to 200, and maybe we'll see like a retest back to maybe like 192.50 or so.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. That would be a pretty good play there. And I feel like it would at least be good for a good intraday play. If you set your alert there right around maybe like 199, I guess like right around 199 or 199.50, maybe like watch for that alert to come through. If you see that alert, like you said, maybe get in on that rejection there. I will say, Mike, I hope that we get a nice breakout tomorrow, and then maybe Nvidia can break this big resistance at 195 and head up towards 200. That would be nice because, man, I'll tell you, if Nvidia crashes down, we'll probably see all the other semiconductors down and maybe even some other big tech stocks down too. So I hope that Nvidia keeps going, but yeah, watch for that run up to 200, guys. I think it could end up being pretty big. Mike, I am watching Starbucks, and like you were talking about with Nvidia, it's been on quite the uptrend lately. Starbucks has also been on quite the uptrend. If we go from the low to the high here, it looks like it's up around like 55%, which is pretty big for a, bigger company like Starbucks, especially like a, I guess like a food company, like a slower mover. So I'm kind of glad that Starbucks is moving up, but they're running into some pretty big resistances. I will say I'm watching it for a move in both directions. If we get a big break above like 108, I think that we can start to move back to the upside and, continue this nice uptrend. But at the same time, kind of like with Nvidia, if we reject off 108 and start to fall back down, I'll watch for some puts. But man, it's been on quite the uptrend for a stock like Starbucks.
Yeah, you know it. Good find. So keep these stocks on your radar, and it is now time for the momentum plays. With today's first one, we have DraftKings to the upside.
Yeah, DKNG. If they go ahead and break their resistance here right around $15.05, I'll definitely watch for that push up. There was a big resistance at 15, but in after hours, they ran up to around 15.05. So watch for that.
All right. With the next one, we have Tilray also to the upside.
TLRY, a nice marijuana stock. Yeah, hopefully they get a nice pop up. Go ahead and make them break above 315.
All right. With the next one, we have Wheat. So WEAT to the upside.
Yeah, I love this ETF, or I guess, what is it, Mike? An ETV, I guess, technically, but it tries to follow wheat a little bit. Yeah, we've been waiting for this one to go up for quite a while here. If it ends up moving up above, I would say the high of day right around $7.46, watch for a push back up.
There we go. So we are watching WEAT, TLRY, and DKNG for potential day trades to the upside tomorrow, only if they break above the levels Tom listed. But it is now time for the big money trade of the day. With today's play, it's very interesting actually. So we had a little over $2 million go into DKS, and it was the 110 strike put options for March 17th of 2023. This is very interesting. So Dick's Sporting Goods, it's a retail company. It's been doing very good over like the past year or so, especially relative to the overall market. Looking at the stock though, it doesn't move a ton, but what I'm really seeing with this play is, assuming that the big money in this scenario is buying these put options, they want this stock to tank down. The more the stock tanks down, the more millions they will make. But Tom, what I really think this is actually a hedge play. Given how far out of the money this option is, and given that there's not like a ton of time to it. This really looks like a hedge play to me, where someone who might have, a couple million shares of DKS or a couple thousand shares of DKS might be buying these 110 strike puts just to protect their existing share position. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it would be a hedge too. If not, they might just be shorting the puts. Maybe they're trying to just short the puts, maybe to get an entry on DKS around 110, or they just think that DKS might just move slowly up here for a little while for the next couple months. I mean, I guess I would either be a hedge play, like you said, or they're shorting it. But man, I definitely feel like that, it's definitely a play where they're a little bit worried about the stock falling back down a little bit, because it has been up quite a bit this year. And what I noticed is that, DKS, whenever it was in this range last time, there was some pretty big resistance right around like 128 to 130. So I'm going to be watching this level very closely here for another rejection. And if we see that, maybe it'll be a good play to follow this to back to the downside. And, even if you don't want to follow this exact play, just watch it, because if you start to see the stock falling, you can even maybe make some, good day trades on it if you start to see some good volatility intraday.
Yep, no doubt. So, Tom, tomorrow's going to be an exciting day. We have more big earnings with Tesla. We'll have the Microsoft move. Do you have any other stocks on your radar or anything else that you want to mention?
Yeah, don't forget about Boeing, AT&T, Progressive, guys. Those are some pretty big stocks too. I know Boeing is going to be talked about quite a bit in the morning. A lot of people are watching that one. Boeing's actually done a very, very well this year, Mike. It's been on a very nice uptrend. I saw a lot of people in Discord today saying they hope Boeing beat. I mean, man, Boeing's up 84% right now, Mike, or 85%. Kind of like Nvidia, it's just so overextended right now from that recent low. But man, I know that these earnings are going to be very influential. And don't forget about those GDP numbers on Thursday morning. So, be careful holding some stuff through close tomorrow, especially holding some, stuff that expires this week. That might be pretty rough if those GDP numbers make the market go against you.
No doubt. Also, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Louis B, in the StockedUp Discord chat. You're new to the chat, but you've been an awesome member so far, so definitely keep it up. It's awesome to have you in the chat. Besides that, guys, make sure to check out this video on the screen right now. There's a small group of stocks that's secretly booming, even though the market itself is very flat. Definitely make sure to check out the video on the screen right now. I cover some pretty important things that you definitely want to know about.